There's a quiet kind of person that most people ignore until it's too late. The one who listens more than they speak. The one who forgives more than they should. The one who stays calm even when they're hurting. This person is the empath, gentle, understanding, and deeply emotional. They carry the weight of others without complaint. But when that same empath reaches their limit, something incredible happens. And that awakening, that moment when they finally say enough, it becomes more powerful and more dangerous than the narcissist ever imagined. In this video, we will explore how Islam honors the empath, warns against narcissistic behavior, and guides the broken-hearted back to strength. This isn't just a story of pain, it's a story of rising again, stronger, wiser, and more connected to Allah than ever before. In a world full of noise and selfishness, there are rare people who feel deeply. They notice pain even when it's hidden behind a smile. They sense discomfort when no words are spoken. They care more than they should. These people are called empaths. Hearts that beat with mercy, souls that carry the burdens of others, and minds that are always trying to understand instead of judge. In Islam, this kind of heart is not only appreciated, but honored. An empath in Islam is not just someone who feels, but someone who acts with compassion. Their heart doesn't rest until they ease someone's sorrow. When someone cries near them, they don't look away. They listen, they comfort, and they pray. When others are in trouble, they don't ask for rewards. They step forward to help. But behind all this kindness, there's a silent struggle. Because feeling too much can be painful, carrying the emotions of others can be exhausting. And giving your all only to be misunderstood or mistreated can make even the kindest hearts grow weary. Empaths in Islam are deeply spiritual people. They don't just feel for humans, they feel the nearness of Allah in every emotion. When they see someone in pain, it reminds them of the day of judgment. When they forgive someone who hurt them, it reminds them of Allah's mercy. Their hearts are mirrors reflecting divine qualities: patience, mercy, love, and gentleness. But they also live in a world that often doesn't value these traits. Some people take advantage of their kindness. Some mistake their silence for weakness. Some test their limits again and again, believing that the empath will never speak up or walk away. But Allah never lets any soul suffer without purpose. The pain of an empath is not forgotten. Every tear, every silent moment, every sleepless night, Allah knows it all, and in return, He promises strength and wisdom for those who trust Him. The empath might look quiet from the outside, but inside, they are constantly growing. Their faith is deepening, their connection to Allah is getting stronger, and one day they awaken with a new kind of clarity, the kind that changes everything. Islam teaches that our hearts are gifts. They are not meant to be thrown around or stepped on. An empath's heart, though soft, is powerful. That power comes from love, and love is one of the strongest forces in existence. Being an empath is not a weakness. It is a spiritual gift. But like all gifts, it comes with responsibility. An empath must learn to balance feeling with wisdom. They must protect their heart without closing it. They must serve others without losing themselves, and they must remember always that their value is not in how people treat them, but in how Allah sees them. In the end, the empath's strength is not in their tears, but in their ability to feel deeply and still rise again with dignity. They don't seek revenge, they seek growth. They don't scream their pain, they turn it into power. And when that transformation happens, the world around them begins to notice. A fed-up empath doesn't turn bitter, they turn wise. And that wisdom becomes a shield stronger than any weapon. So, if you are an empath, never doubt your strength. Your kindness is your courage. Your patience is your power. And your journey, though painful, is blessed, because Allah walks with those whose hearts are soft and sincere. In this life we meet many kinds of people. Some bring peace when they enter a room, others bring tension. Some lift you up, and some drain your energy. One of the most dangerous personalities a person can encounter is a narcissist. It's not just someone who likes themselves. It's someone who puts themselves above everyone else, including the truth. In Islam, arrogance and self-glorification are not just personality flaws, they are diseases of the heart. A narcissist is someone who believes they are always right. They struggle to admit their mistakes. They often speak more than they listen. They show little concern for how their actions affect others. But what makes them truly harmful is that they know how to hide their darkness behind a beautiful face. They can act kind in public but be cold and cruel behind closed doors. Their goal is not peace, their goal is control. In Islam we are taught to be humble, to lower ourselves before Allah and to honor others. Narcissists do the opposite. They lift themselves by putting others down. They feed their ego by surrounding themselves with people who always agree with them. And when someone stands up to them, they become angry, not because they are hurt, but because they are losing control. The narcissist in today's world may not say they're God, but their actions show that they want to be treated like one. They expect full loyalty but give none. They want to be respected but do not show respect. They want to be praised even when they hurt others. They apologize only when they are caught, not because they feel remorse. And when the people around them, especially empaths, start seeing the truth, the narcissist tries harder to manipulate, guilt trip, or twist the situation. But Islam teaches us something powerful, that truth always wins, even if it takes time. The narcissist might rise high for a while, but their fall is near if they continue on that path. Alma gives everyone a chance to repent. They choose empaths because they know empaths will try to understand them, forgive them, and fix things. But when the empath awakens and walks away, the narcissist becomes unsettled. Why? Because they've lost their mirror. They've lost the person who once reflected light into their darkness. And that loss hurts, not because of love, but because of lost control. So how do we deal with narcissists in Islam? With wisdom, patience, and boundaries. We are not told to hate them. We are told to protect ourselves. We make dua for them if we can. We speak truth with dignity. And if they continue to harm us, we walk away peacefully. That is not weakness. That is strength. Being kind doesn't mean being silent. Being patient doesn't mean being blind. And being Muslim doesn't mean allowing your heart to be crushed again and again. Islam teaches us balance. We are soft but firm, gentle but aware, loving but not foolish. And through this balance, we protect our souls from the damage narcissists can cause. If you are someone who has been hurt by a narcissist, don't lose hope. Allah sees what they did. He knows what you're feeling, and He will bring justice in His perfect time. Your pain is not wasted, your silence is not forgotten, and your growth is your victory. There is a moment in every empath's life when something shifts. It's not loud. It doesn't always come with a scream or a breakdown, but it is powerful. It's the quiet awakening of a heart that has loved deeply, forgiven endlessly, stayed patient through storms, and yet was still broken. It's when the empath, the kind, gentle, soft soul, realizes that their mercy has been mistaken for weakness, that their forgiveness has been abused, that their silence has been treated like submission, and in that moment, something begins to rise from within. When the empath has had enough, they change, not in anger, but in clarity. They no longer carry the weight of other people's sins. They stop blaming themselves for things they did not cause. They begin to see with new eyes, not blinded by emotion, but sharpened by wisdom. They remember their worth, not through the words of others, but through the words of Allah. They start to walk differently, not faster, not louder, but stronger. Each step becomes a choice to protect their peace and guard their heart. When the empath reaches the limit, they no longer stay in places where their heart is constantly breaking. They stop making excuses for people who refuse to change. They stop explaining themselves to those who have already made up their minds. They don't seek revenge, but they no longer sacrifice themselves, keep others comfortable. That's not selfishness, that's growth, that's strength. That's the soul remembering its true value in the eyes of the Creator. The empath no longer seeks closure, because they understand now. Closure isn't given, it's found. And real closure comes when your soul finally finds peace without needing apologies, explanations, or validation. That's when healing begins. That's when power returns. What happens when the empath has had enough? A transformation, not into someone else, but into their truest self. The person they were always meant to be. A person who still feels, but no longer bleeds for people who never cared. A person who still gives, but only where love is returned. A person who still forgives, but no longer forgets their own worth. This transformation is not loud. It doesn't seek revenge. It doesn't post angry messages or cry out for attention. It simply rises, slowly and gracefully. And when the empath rises like this, they are no longer in the hands of people. They are in the hands of Allah. That is the safest, most powerful place to be. So if you are that empath, if you've been pushed to your limit and feel like something inside you is changing, don't fear it. That change is your rebirth. It's Allah pulling you out of pain and into purpose. Let go of what hurt you. Don't chase what broke you. Step into the version of you that Allah wants you to be. He is enough for you. He always has been. Forgiveness is one of the most beautiful qualities a person can have. It softens the heart, removes hatred, and brings peace to the soul. Islam encourages us to forgive. Again and again, Allah reminds us that He is the most forgiving, and we are asked to follow His example. But sometimes people misunderstand what forgiveness means. They think that to forgive means to stay silent, to keep allowing harm, to accept disrespect, and to let people hurt us over and over again. That is not what Islam teaches. Forgiveness is powerful, but it is not the same as being used. Islam teaches us to be kind. It never asks us to let others walk over us. Mercy is not weakness. In fact, real mercy includes wisdom. You can forgive someone in your heart and still protect yourself from being hurt again. You can let go of the anger, but still step away from people who don't value your heart. There are people who say sorry but never change. There are people who make promises but break them every time. There are people who take advantage of your softness, knowing you will forgive them. These are not small mistakes. These are signs of a pattern. And Islam doesn't ask you to ignore patterns. Islam asks you to use your mind and your heart together. This is the balance Islam gives us. A heart full of mercy and a mind full of wisdom. A soul that loves peace but also knows when to walk away. If someone wrongs you once and repents, you may choose to forgive. If they wrong you again and again without change, you have the right to distance yourself. Forgiveness is between you and Allah, but trust must be earned, safety must be guarded, and your dignity must never be given away. Forgiving someone does not mean you trust them again. It means you free your heart from bitterness. It means you hand the matter over to Allah and stop holding the weight. But it also means you set limits. You protect your soul. You learn the lesson. Because Allah does not want His servants to be broken again and again by the same people. He wants them to grow, rise, and move forward with strength. So if you are someone who has been used because of your kindness, know this: Allah sees you. He sees every time you forgave when you didn't have to. He sees every tear you cried in silence. He sees how heavy your heart became, carrying burdens that were never yours. And He will reward you, not just with peace, but with clarity, healing, and strength. You are not weak for forgiving, you are strong, but don't let that strength be abused. Guard your peace, learn from your pain, grow in your understanding. And remember that Islam always gives you the right to protect your soul from those who don't respect it. There is a special moment in an empath's journey that changes everything. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it is powerful. This moment is called awakening. It is the moment when the empath who used to break down quietly, who used to cry behind closed doors, who used to forgive without limits, finally opens their eyes, not to hate, but to truth. This awakening is not about becoming hard-hearted. It's about becoming aware. And that awareness is dangerous. Not to the empath, but to those who once controlled them. An empath is someone who feels deeply, understands others, and puts themselves last. But when that same empath begins to realize that they were being used, lied to, manipulated, or taken for granted, something inside of them shifts. They no longer stay silent out of fear. They no longer bend just to keep the peace. They no longer beg to be seen or heard. They wake up. And when they wake up, they become a new version of themselves, one that no longer fits the old pattern. This awakening brings strength that is quiet and steady. The empath doesn't need to shout or argue. They don't need to fight to be understood. Their actions start speaking louder than their emotions. They begin to say no without guilt. They protect their time and energy. They stop explaining themselves to people who never truly listened. This is not revenge. This is growth. This is the heart finally honoring itself after years of being poured out for others. In Islam, there is deep value in being aware, both of others and of yourself. Awareness leads to clarity, and clarity leads to healing. When an empath becomes aware of the games being played, they stop participating. They stop dancing around people's moods. They stop trying to fix what they didn't break. Instead, they stand still, look around, and finally ask, "Is this what Allah wants for me?" That question changes everything. Because once the empath aligns their strength with their faith, they become unstoppable. They stop seeking peace from people and start finding it in prayer. They stop chasing love from others and start tasting the sweetness of love from Allah. Their power now comes from their connection to the Creator, not from the approval of creation. This is what makes the empath dangerous to the narcissist. Because the narcissist depends on confusion, they thrive when the empath is insecure. They feel powerful when the empath keeps forgiving blindly. But now, the empath is no longer confused. They're no longer scared to be alone. They don't need to be rescued. They don't fall for empty words. The narcissist's control starts to fade, and they don't know how to handle it. The narcissist may try harder. They may try to guilt trip, shame, or emotionally manipulate the empath back into submission. But it doesn't work anymore. The empath's heart is still soft, but now it is guarded by truth and guided by wisdom. And that is something no narcissist can defeat. The most dangerous thing to a manipulative person is someone who has healed, someone who sees clearly, someone who doesn't need them anymore. That is what an awakened empath becomes. Not a victim, but a warrior. A warrior of peace. A warrior of boundaries. A warrior of light. This doesn't mean the empath becomes bitter. They still feel. They still care. But now they know where to give their care. They don't throw pearls at people who trample them. They don't pour love into hearts that are closed. They don't explain their worth to those who never valued it. They walk away, quietly and with dignity. That walk is the strongest step they ever take. This journey is not easy, it's lonely at first, but it leads to a better place. A place where the empath no longer lives in fear or pain. A place where their light is protected. A place where they finally meet the version of themselves that Allah had been guiding them toward all along. So, if you are waking up, if you're starting to see people for who they really are, don't run from it. Don't try to go back to who you were. That old version of you was beautiful, but it was built in survival. Now it's time to live. Now it's time to rise. Now it's time to honor your soul, walk with truth, and trust Allah to guide every step. And if your heart has finally awakened, if you're learning to guard your peace, to rise in dignity, and to let go of those who only drained you, then you are not becoming hard. You are becoming free. Free to heal, to grow, and to walk closer to Allah with every step. The narcissist may never admit what they did, but you don't need their apology to move forward. You have something greater. You have Allah, and with Him you will always rise.